In my dream, I was heavy at first, heavy as one of the massive rocks that made their rough stair steps down the cliffs on the island to the sea. I felt the weight of me sinking into the earth, and it was as if I would sink forevermore. But then I changed. I became buoyant, immediately, fantastically buoyant, without any weight at all. I rose in a mist, in smoke, silvery curls that shone translucent in the moonlight, rising, rising. Free to flow beyond windows and walls, free to descend into the unknown depths of a very dark woods. I was in flight, the air pushed by an owl's wings, the breeze off the sea that ruffled bracken and oak leaves. I could go anywhere, high or low, or as far as I wished, but what I wished was to float through the open door of a cottage nestled in those woods, a place that was also dark, also unknown. In the cottage was a bed, and in the bed was Jessie. His eyes were closed, his lips were parted. I sank closer to him, to the heated contours of his uncovered skin, his chest, his shoulders, up to his peaceful face. I touched him, and his hands lifted to touch me back. He inhaled deep, and I became the oxygen that nourished him. I was inside him. I was outside him. My lips were on his, and our kiss pulled me back into weight, but not as a stone. As me, as Lora with Jessie in his bed. Our arms locked, our bodies pressed into one, his hair a golden sift against my throat, his unshaven cheek on mine, deliciously, wonderfully rough. The sheets knotted around us, our kisses, his tongue, his hands stroking my back and arms and down, following the curves of me, cupping me, cradling. I was empty and full at once. I was the opening flower, the ripe berry ready to burst. I wanted more of him and could not get more. We were already so close our bodies slipped slick together. "Beloved," murmured the voice that lived inside me, tender as I'd never heard it before. "I've missed you. I've waited so long." His eyes opened and he smiled at me, a green summer storm, a shadowed eternity there in his gaze. "You already know that I love you," Jessie said, and in that instant I awoke. Alone, in my own bed, plain Lora again. Every bit of me aching and aflame. Saturday edged nearer. I tried not to think about it, but it ate away at me anyway, ever gnawing at the back of my thoughts. I endured my classes. Monsieur Vachon had decided that since I was something of a prodigy, it would be his duty to deconstruct me, to take apart my talent piece by piece until he could reassemble it into a whole that better reflected him. In other words, he was forcing me to learn scales, to read music. I was as clumsy at it as the 10-year-olds in his beginner's class, but at least it required something most of my other lessons did not: absolute concentration. Otherwise, my thoughts were flurried. An unpleasant tightness had lodged in my chest and it would not leave. Even the fiend could not make it leave. History, art, French. I'd stare at my textbooks and see nothing. I'd stare at my teachers and see nothing. At the walls, at my supper. Saturday tea was looming, Judgment Day, 4 days away. God knew what would happen to me if the Duke didn't like me. If Chloe decided to openly shame me. If Armand kept up his focused, uncomfortable attentions. If I used the wrong spoon for the sugar, or sneezed on the scones, or knocked over a priceless vase. 3 days. 2. 1. I said, pass the butter. Melinda was the unfortunate soul assigned to the seat.